Sit in this lobster chair. It's fine.
Made entirely of lobster. Welcome to the Coven Slumber Party with Ray of Blackheart Arts and Sarah of Calling Corners, where we break down and geek out over the witchy, magical, mystical media of the 80s, 90s, and more, and try and fill that video store-shaped holes in our hearts. I'm Sarah.
Oh, yeah, I'm Ray.
Welcome to episode 16 of the CSP podcast. We are back, albeit more sporadically, this time with an episode as we close in on Valentine's Day. Whether you are a believer in the amas veritas of it all or are more of a cynic, we wanted to explore the efficacy, ethics, and happily ever afters of love spells.
Yeah, this is a lot.
I know, it is a lot. It is a lot. And everyone has thoughts.
Oh my god. So many spells, so many articles, so many things if you just Google love spells. Like, the internet's like, 8 ways to get them in your bed tomorrow because you're impatient.
Well, speaking of that, it was pretty crazy because, like, I just did quick searches myself, too, in that realm. 260 results for love spells on indigo.com, which is, for listeners maybe not in Canada, that's, like, our
chapters
big,
or whatever,
big bookstore, big box bookstore, I guess, franchise. So 260 results, and then over 20,000 results for love spells on Amazon.ca.
See, that's why I was like kind of overwhelmed once I was like, yeah, let's dive into this. It'll be super fun. But then it was just like a tidal wave of rose petals and stuff. And I was like, overwhelmed. I can't tell what to pay attention to and what not to. Like, whoa, okay, what was the one that I sent you a screenshot of?
Oh my gosh.
Oh, because what you need for the full moon love and relationship spells, I'm not even going to give the website because it's so bad. The ingredients needed for this relationship love full moon spell is a full moon that happens on Earth and a tiny bunch of rose petals. Those are the only 2 ingredients that
so
you
precise.
need. But
don't try this on another
Don't
planet.
worry, because we're on Earth, so the full moon is like, it just happens. It's like, anyway, yeah.
No, I
agree.
Overwhelming. It's overwhelming, and it's not a perfect science. Although I will say, interestingly, something that I did find. I'll see if I can pull it up. And you might have seen it too. I'm just gonna try and. Okay. So this is an article on independent.co.uk from 2017. It says love potions could exist within 10 years. Science claims. But would you want to trick yourself or someone else into falling in love?
The answer on the internet is yes, abso-fucking-lutely. Apparently, people are like, I don't care, get them in my world.
The Independent article talks to somebody named Dr. Anders Sandberg of the
Andy Sandberg of the Lonely Island Institute.
Yes,
sorry,
you're right. I never even thought about that. It does. Dr. Andy Sandberg from Lonely Island Institute.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. But it's Anders, but that's hilarious. So according to Dr. Anders Sandberg of the University of Oxford, this is a quote from the article, love potions could soon be a reality. Sandberg points out that one of the main reasons humans fall in love is that our babies can't look after themselves. Various animals, in contrast, are much more capable of finding food and being generally self-sufficient from a young age.
That's true. Yeah.
When we fall in love with someone, the effect on your brain is unique. Oxytocin and vasopressin are released by activating the brain's dopamine system. A good love drug would need to affect the right part of the brain by stimulating these systems, Sandberg explains. We don't have any proper love drugs yet. But yeah, they say that it could be, like, if you read the article thoroughly, it talks even more about like how, like, the pros and cons of using them. Which there are some interesting ones that I never even thought of. It's very...
Okay, so it's all... Okay, so, but that's a very large assumption that love is just around procreation.
And chemical.
That's really weird.
And chemicals in the brain.
Yeah, but chemical to procreate.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, yeah, essentially, like, the reason it triggers the chemical response is so we can continue procreating. Apparently,
so
according to the
wild.
science of this study.
Love spells in pop culture, a history.
The Vice article, the very cynical Vice article,
When someone says a history, I expect it to be like super groundbreaking, important stuff. It wasn't. It just was like, hey, practical magic and Charmed.
Oh yeah, I didn't even think about Charmed.
That was the thing that did tell me about Love Potion number 9, and
right.
So that was the thing. But love spells, movies, TVs, what do they have in common? Like alchemy, they're all pretty much doomed attempts to artificially create something that is notoriously unyielding. Love are hard, and it doesn't work.
Yeah, just kind of saying like, it's not going to work out properly.
Yeah.
Or you have to do it.
Yeah. It's like if pop culture conventions have taught us anything about love charms, it is that they can work just in a way that the user of said charms probably wishes they hadn't.
And they use examples like The Craft.
Well, The Craft is a really good example of it.
And I know you brought up a good example too from Practical Magic, the book.
Yeah, like in the movie, the neighbor comes over and wants a love spell on this guy that she's crazy about. She's like, I can't stop thinking about him. And I think in the movie, they're even like, well, have you talked to him or whatever? She's like, well, I've done everything I can. I wouldn't be here if I didn't.
Right.
Like, and then pokes a very long needle in the heart of a dove.
Yeah.
But in the book, it like leads this man to go crazy, similar to The Craft, like over love and like just like smother her, where she's like, I just need like 5 minutes alone, like and I think it like basically deteriorates him and her into like sad hunched over
human
people.
Yeah
I can't remember exactly, but it was bad.
It was bad. The repercussions of it in Practical Magic, the book, at least. I mean, I think in the movie it kind of alluded to it, but it was still, it wasn't as in-depth as the book, which ended very depressingly in terms of that woman's spell.
But I mean, the Owen sisters did warn her.
Yeah,
and that's the thing. It's like, why don't you listen to the person
that does this for a living?
Yeah. Like, oh, you know better? Like, get out of here.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's funny because, like, and I think I was saying this to you when we started talking about doing this episode, was like, you think you know your heart so well, right? But, like, if I had to cast love spells on, like, literally half the people that I, you know, at some point wanted to probably love me through and through, I would just be like, so fucked up.
Game over.
They're just...
And that's the thing, too. I was, like, listening to some podcasts and reading stuff, and, like, I remember we talked the other day, and you were, like, about consent, and that was the thing, the ethics and consent behind it and stuff. And you were saying that you feel like if it's not meant to be, it won't happen. Like, you cannot force someone to love you.
Yeah.
And I think I'm kind of more in that camp.
Sure.
One of the things that I read was being like, just keep it open and vague. Don't cite specific people with anything, whether it's like a job or a new home or anything. Like, be vague, be loose. Talk about what you're looking for, but nothing specific. Like, for the person, be like, I want him to be kind and whatever else Sally Owen says.
Right.
Like, but keep it like that, and not to be like zeroed in on someone, because as much as you think you know what you want, it's like you could be dead wrong.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And you need something else, but you've never experienced it, or you think it's silly or whatever, and it's like, it's actually a pretty good fit.
Yeah.
And I was like, that makes sense. I think that's smarter to do.
Yeah, I definitely think that, like, when it comes to matters of the heart, you have to wait till your head is a little bit more involved, at least for me, because I've made some terrible choices.
I don't know what you're talking about. I have a great track record.
Gosh, one thing that I did think was really awesome that I was interested in was finding out kind of like how we learned about love spells and like where they came from and stuff.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I found was the Greek magical papyri, which is, according to Wikipedia, the Greek magical papyri is the name given by scholars to a body of papyri from Greco-Roman Egypt, written mostly in ancient Greek, which each contain a number of magical spells, formulae, hymns, and rituals. The materials of the papyri date from 100s BCE to 400 CE. So to me, I was like, oh, well, maybe that stuff's legit. Like, that's hardcore. Like, that's back. That's a long time ago.
Yeah. Is it just you need a full moon on the planet Earth?
No, it is not.
Oh, more specific? Tell me more.
So there was an article I found, blogs.bl.uk, where they kind of pulled from the papyri, or from the translation of the papyri, because this document's like just ripped to shreds, basically. Like, there's pictures. I'll add one in our show notes, the pictures of what we have remaining of it. But you know, it was ripped, like there's just, it's so old. Like, so, you know, I think some of the blanks got filled in and stuff, but basically, okay, here's one from the blogs.bl.uk that was pulled from the Greek magickal papyri. So love spells often have titles that define their nature in more detail. One of the most frequent types are love spells that lead, quote, that lead. This type of spell had the aim to bring the victim to the person performing the magic. One of these spells instructed the user to take a seashell, write holy names with the blood of a black donkey, and recite a formula to attract the victim. The user should select the time to perform the ritual very carefully, as the spell had an immediate effect. So that was from
really
the magical
bringing
papyri.
me down that they're referring to them as the victim.
I know.
Like, really bringing me down.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it's a lot. And they were all kind of like very oddly specific like that. And I think you found some too, you were saying, that were very bizarrely specific.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And I've actually, like, because what was the podcast?
Oh, wait, while you find that, I'm going to read another one from this article.
Please.
So another one they pulled from the Greek papyri was this: invoking deities, which is an interesting way of kind of doing magic that I don't think of using so much, is like using spirit or deity power as opposed to like something like candle magic or something, which is my go-to thing. But this one from the papyri was invoking deities. So invoking deities for help is another common feature of love spells. A special invocation to Selene, the moon, is contained in the following spell. Addressing Selene as the mistress of the entire world, the user was instructed to make offerings to her by molding a mixture of clay, sulfur, and blood from a dappled goat into a figurine of the goddess, and by consecrating a shrine of olive wood, which should never face the sun. As a result, Selene would send a holy angel who would drag the victim by their feet and hair to the user. The victim would be fearful and sleepless because of their love for the individual performing the magic. Success is guaranteed as the power of the spell is strong, according to the papyrus.
Pass.
Hard pass.
Oh, no.
So that's the kind of stuff it seems that they were working with, historically speaking.
Just chilling.
And like blood from a dappled goat. I looked up what that means. I think it just means a goat with spots.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, because, okay, so what I'm trying to find out where this woman is from. So the podcast that I stumbled upon is Fabulous Folklore with Icy Sedgwick.
Icy Sedgwick, yeah.
Yeah. The episode is Love, Magic, and Folklore.
Okay.
Yeah, and she talked about some of them. A large amount of them, surprisingly, had corpse parts involved.
That's what you were, yeah.
So one of them was you take a piece of a corpse arm and you have to tie it to the one that you want to be your lover while they're sleeping, and then take it off when they wake up, before they wake up, and basically just like keep it forever until you're dead, and they'll love you eternally.
Super easy.
Yes.
No pressure.
She also does say that someone did do that, and it worked. Like, I guess she took the piece of the corpse arm and put it underneath her bed, and she had a dream. That's what you're supposed to do. I guess you dream of the person you're supposed to be with, and it was her master, whatever, at the time. And she was like, oh, weird. That's super weird. His wife passed away, so she was like, oh shit, maybe this is like a thing. So she did that. She like tied it to him for a night, and then he did fall in love with her, and they got married, and it was great. And everyone was like, oh, weird, because she's not attractive, which is a factor. All of that is so stupid in my head, but whatever.
I hear you.
Yeah, because she was not conventionally attractive. Everyone thought it was very bizarre that he married her, and then they had a fire like a year and a day after their wedding, and it the corpse skin got ruined, and so the spell was broken, and he like immediately was like, wow, I hate you, we're getting a divorce, or like, we're done, bye.
Right.
It's wild how there's like, she also talks about, I think, two other spells that involve corpse flesh or parts of a corpse, tomb dust, really intense stuff. I forget what they're called. It's not a potion, and it's something that to ingest, and it's usually based around wine or tea. You have to put your dried blood in it, along with like the blood of a black goat or something like that, you know, with like really rank herbs, and get them to ingest it. It's like, that seems really hard to do.
It's kind of funny, and by funny I mean like perplexing, I guess. It seems, based on what we've kind of both found. It's like love spells can kind of go, love spell ingredients can go one of two ways. They can be like beautiful and lush and sensual, like you got like garnets and garnet crystals and rose quartz crystals and, you know, lotus petals and rose petals, and then you have like corpse arm skin and like the blood of a goat. It can be. The blood of a blind infant was also one that she talked about, and I was like, where the fuck, like, where are people, what the fuck, where are people getting any of this stuff is my question.
Because you have to remember, the population was not what it is now.
No,
the odds of finding anything specific would be like way harder.
So
imagine you had to like really, really like this person. Be like, Ted is my man, and I know this, so I'm gonna go dig up a body. I'm gonna go find that blind infant. I'm gonna dry some blood. Like, there's a lot to it. But there's again, it's like, what, you live to be like 30 tops, and like, what else are you doing?
What else are you doing besides going looking for that blood,
right?
Digging up those corpses.
There's not much going on.
That's true. That's very interesting. Although it does bring me to something that makes me think of my own personal experience, which I only have one real experience. I know I've spoke about this on the podcast, which was that I did a love spell that I got from a YM book magazine in the, I guess it was the 90s. I was young. I was very young when I found it. And then I tried it. I want to say I was 14 or 15. So, you know, obtaining this information was not what it was today. This love spell in the YM book was truly the only sort of witchcraft element that was around. And it was just a basic candle magic spell that involved like 2 candles, my name and then the person's name. And this was just somebody that I like saw walking one day and was like, oh, they're so beautiful. I need to be with them.
Yeah, right. I love them so much. I'm gonna get some corpse flesh and
blind baby juice. So luckily that wasn't recommended in the magazine, but it was this candle magic spell, and so it was essentially like, you know, burning the candles and moving them closer together and that sort of thing. But of course, at the time, which it was so long ago, who knows what it actually said, right? But aside from the energetic connection, you also kind of have to do these mundane connections, right? Because there's no sense on doing anything energetically if you're not going to also put the physicality into it. So, you know, I was finding out, like, you know, we had mutual friends. I was like, oh, maybe we can talk on the phone, like,
talk on the phone.
You know, this sort of thing.
Wild concept.
So I was also kind of exercising my measures that way as well. And it worked. It worked, but I was so young, and I didn't dispose of this stuff well. I think I just let it kind of like age and get old and rot kind of on my dresser, and maybe I ended up throwing it away, just thinking, you know, it was done. And then that is something I do kind of believe in for my own personal magic, is like, you have to kind of dispose or deconstruct things in a reverent way, or at least like, you know, with some sort of mindfulness, because I feel like if you don't, then something like that anecdotal story that may or may not have happened with the fire and the corpse skin could result, you know, like just this sort of like blasphemous way of getting rid of the stuff. So that's always kind of stuck with me, and I've always been quite careful when I'm cleaning up stuff afterwards. That said, I don't do love spells anymore. I just, there's things I'd prefer to do with my time than that, but you know, teach their own.
I don't know if I've ever actually done anything. It is weird, like there's been times in my life where I've been like, I want that person, and I've gotten that person. And I'm like, what the fuck?
You're just focusing that energy so hard.
I think.
Yeah.
I think.
Totally.
I must have.
No,
unintentionally done something.
Totally. And I think like when you're younger, like I'm gonna say preteens, like kind of close, like when you're kind of on the cusp of your 20s almost, like that little range of time, those few years are so like impactful. Like you change so much.
I thought you said rage of time, and I was like, yes.
It is a rage of time as well. Yes. But you have energetically, you're so confused about the world, and you know, you're becoming like an adult version of yourself, and that, and I just think the power you carry is so intense at that age range that like it's easier to channel those types of things.
I listened to another podcast.
Oh yeah,
and I stopped because I was like, this is too heavy of a rabbit hole to like, too big of a rabbit hole to go down right now. Supernatural Confessions. It's episode number 34, The Magic of Love. Well, one of the actions apparently that they talk about is that if a woman wants to get a man to fall in love with her, a specific man, she cooks rice. And as the rice is cooking, she stands above the rice and lets it, like, basically steam her vagina and sweat vagina into the rice and then feed it to the man, and he will forever love her. And I was like, pause. It is 7 o'clock in the morning.
Whoa.
That's too much for me right now.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go pedal backwards to some rose petals, putting a piece of hair in the air and seeing where it goes. But again, I've never really done this work before. And if I am going to I do stuff now, but it's self-love stuff. It's not anything specific. I'm never like, hey, bring me stuff. I'm always like, I'm working on myself. So the idea of like steaming your vagina for someone is like a really far out thing for me right now.
Yeah. The most I've ever done is got a wax.
I haven't even fucking done that, my dude. Like, it's... But I mean, at different cultures and different... It's like...
Totally.
Yeah, but like wild. That was pretty wild.
That's interesting.
Because also, like, how the hell do you do that? Right?
Yeah.
Because, like, steam enough for, like, sweat droplets is what they were saying, for, like, you to sweat into it. It's like, so you have to be over that rice for a good chunk of time. Not super long. Minutes. So what do you do? How do you explain that if somebody just spies you squatting over the rice?
Yeah. And I need to pull up a chair at this point. Like,
they also said that some women actually put a used tampon in the rice and feed it to a man.
What?
Like, that's gross.
It's the bodily stuff that gets to me. It's just like, I understand the value of wanting to incorporate a bodily aspect into your spell, because of course there's, I forget even what the magic's called now. It's been so long. I want to say sympathetic magic, but I don't think that's it. But it's like imitative magic, so it's like a part of you going into the work, or a part of the person, your interest going into the work. And I do understand how that's relevant, because lust is a huge aspect of this stuff, whether people want to admit that or not. But it's gross.
I'm like, okay, Love Witch, where she puts a tampon in a witch's bottle and whatever. Like,
right.
Sure. But you, like, putting that into food that your target goal is for a human to ingest it. Wild.
Yeah. And I think with something like that too is going back to kind of the stuff I was thinking, or that we were chatting about the other day, is like consent for this sort of stuff. So I have like my perspective on that in terms of spell work, but if you're doing a spell where they're ingesting something and they don't know, that requires consent, in my opinion. Like that, because that's physically putting something in your body. If you're affecting somebody's physicality, or what they're going to consume, or even what they're going to see, like that requires consent, in my opinion. Absolutely. You know, so is there soy in that, or like, you know, maybe they have a shrimp allergy. I don't know, but yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there. I agree with you there.
Now, where I think people would maybe disagree with me. So for me, doing magic clears a path for life and situations to flow. If there's a simpler path for them to flow that I overlooked, or perhaps a stronger direction entirely that isn't to my liking, the magical pathway I've cleared is going to go unused anyway. This is my understanding and mindset, maybe not for everyone, but I do apply this as a reason for why I don't feel like doing a magic spell for something like love is removing someone's free will. It might simply move the same amount of energy or have the same effect as like going up to someone and asking them for their phone number. It wasn't that person's free will that I went up to ask them for their phone number, but it's their free will whether they give it to me or not. Yeah. I just think it's the same with magic. Just because I've applied it and opened the channel doesn't mean that person willingly or like needs to come through or is like forced to come through. So in terms of like just doing magic that doesn't affect the person physically, I don't think that it would be a requirement to let them know, or that it actually impacts their free will. Because like you said before, it's like, if they're not meant to love you, it's not going to happen whether you open that channel or not. There's going to be a different channel for them in life where energy is going to flow.
I don't like, because that's the thing. It's like, if somebody has a complete polar opposite viewpoint, I want to hear about it for sure. I want to know if that's a thing people have experienced, because I feel like what you're saying resonates more with me.
Oh yeah, so if somebody's experienced something, or if they don't feel like,
or if they've like, I've done this and it has worked, and this person didn't even know who the hell I was, or whatever. But again, there's always like some gray there, because it's like, you are a person in the world that someone could find attractive, whether or not you do any work or spells or anything. Like, you could, like, straight up, that dude YM time, that person just could have liked you for you, right? So it's like, you can never fully draw the line, but open all the channels, open all the pathways.
I'm not inclined to do love spells for myself or hex spells either, not because I have any fundamental issue with them personally, but because I'm very protective of my time and energy.
Oof, I like that.
Yeah, so, and like, kind of like what you said, it's like, I'd rather do something that's empowering or projecting me in a direction that I'm feeling really excited about, than something that I feel like almost enslaved to, or like that's giving me icky feels, you know?
And that's the thing, like, also, I guess, like, some of the things that I read and watched and stuff, it's like, it seems that the direction of love magic isn't on the positive, bright side of it. It's like on the cursing. Like, more people are like, fucking burn that person to the ground.
100%.
And it's like, that's kind of a wild concept.
It is. But you're right, and I found stuff about that too, which is just so, it's kind of like trying to make them feel as intensely as you feel. But like, so like, I got this thing, and maybe you saw it too based on what you said. So there's a guy, Christopher Ferrone, Ferrone. I'm gonna say Ferrone. I'm probably saying that wrong. So so Christopher Ferrone, author of Ancient Greek Love Magic, is a professor of humanities. He's a professor in the Department of Classics at the University of Chicago. So authored this book, Ancient Greek Love Magic. So there was a University of Chicago Library digital collection interviewed him about like just ancient Greek love magic. Question: what surprised you most about your research in Greek love spells and incantations? And he said, I set out to write a book about love magic, and by the time I was done, I wasn't sure the love magic as an all-embracing category was really helpful or for understanding the Greeks. What I realized toward the end of the project was that the modern category of love magic embraced two rather different types of spells. One set designed to produce eros, erotic seizure, in the victim.
Gross.
And the other used to create philia, affection or friendship. It took me a couple of years to figure this out, and as a result, I wrote a book that was very different from the one I had planned. Question: so calling all of these spells love magic wouldn't make sense to the Greeks. Precisely. What I discovered was that most of the technologies that are used in spells for throwing erotic passion into someone are borrowed from the realm of cursing.
Wild.
Yes. If you actually track it down, melting wax, sticking pins into an image, and the lot of the language in the surviving erotic charms are all used in cursing rituals.
Hence the term victim used in the previous spell. Right.
Thus, half of the repertoire of love magic is curses, whereas the philia-producing spells used amulets, knotted cords, and potions, which aren't technologies you find in curses. You find them in healing magic. Part of the argument of my book is that this healing magic, which seems to have been a purview of women, evolved in the hands of women into the forms of philia magic focused on healing and preserving a broken relationship. Erotic magic, on the other hand, is based on cursing techniques and often seem to be used by one family to attack another. Most often it seems used by men who's on the outside of the family trying to get a woman out of out of the father's house. I don't know. Basically, yeah, what you said.
Fucking people up with curses. And
Yeah. So that's very compelling and very intriguing to me.
I watched, again, Vice video, casting curses and love spells with the most powerful witches in Romania. And it's a family, I guess, like a family of witches married into a family of witches. This mother and her 2 daughters that are like pretty big time, I guess. So they have people calling from all over the world to do love magic and getting help and spells and rituals and everything like that. And they asked her, was like, have you, because she gets telephone calls, which is wild that she does everything over the phone or digitally or whatever like that. And the interviewer was like, does this affect anything? And she was like, nope, still the same. Magic, sure. She's like, okay, well, have you noticed a shift or a change in magic? And she said that when she was younger, it was more like, I would like this person to love me. I would like love, blah, blah, blah. But now it's like pretty much just curses that she does. She gets requests for people to feel terrible and like to ruin their lives and shit and stuff. Just like,
really?
I feel, I don't know, like I've had some downer moments. I don't think I've ever been like, I'm gonna spend like $1,000 and call this woman in Romania to like burn some blood of a black chicken so this fucker has a really bad year.
That's what I mean. Like,
yeah.
I just feel like that energy could be projected so much better elsewhere. And don't get me wrong, I am a spiteful, hateful bitch. Like, I am not, my default is like just awful. But yeah, I just feel like it always feels better to be like empowering your own self somehow.
Yeah.
Like it just always feels more authentic and just good. Even for me, like a toxic villain. Like
it's just wild. But I guess like, my life experiences are like a tiny fingernail and what could happen. So like maybe there are people that really do deserve to have their life burnt to the ground.
I'm sure that's true.
Yeah, right? Like,
I'm sure that's true.
And also, it's like, I've had some rough times in the past, like, 6 months and stuff. There's only so much you can take of, like, the sugary, sweet solutions of stuff. Sometimes it really is good to just stay in anger and, like, be sour and just stay in that for, like, a day or two or whatever. Like, I think it's healthy and it's fine because there's stuff that you process in that space that you would never fucking even know you need to process.
I think you're right. I think staying in anger is important. Like, like you need to process things. Absolutely.
Because like the whole everything happens for a reason. I think we talked about this. Everything happens for a reason. Bullshit. No. Like if someone's having a rough time, like maybe don't fucking say stuff like that to them. Just like be supportive for them in the moment. And like, but again, it's hard though. If someone's having a rough time, I don't know what to say sometimes, like, cause I feel too much. So sometimes I'm like, if I want to get down in the dirt with this person and like be there and feel and help, but it's like, I can't, cause I'm not that person. I can have as much empathy as I can. So it's like sometimes I get like, I buffer and I don't know. And I'm like, I don't know, like silver linings. And like, maybe something better's on the horizon, which is not. It's just not helpful.
Right. Yeah. No, that's fair. It is hard to know what to say to people in those moments. It's hard to be in those moments.
That's the thing. I think just as in all together as humans, we need to like be more comfortable in the uncomfortable.
No, I agree.
Yeah, because I feel like a lot of the time it's like, oh, just get over that relationship. Oh, whatever, you're out of it. Drink tequila, go have fun, and like, ooh. It's like, yeah, I guess, but also like process some shit.
Yeah.
That's cool too.
Yeah.
Let your friends learn how to process stuff with you, or like your family, like learn.
Totally. Yeah, and just like being in the muck sometimes it's just par for the course, I guess.
Yeah,
like,
it's fucking life, man.
Yeah. And it sucks. Even just like now it's hitting me as I like move closer to 40. It's just like, I know, right? It's so creepy and weird to say. But like, I think I was saying to you, like, I had someone tell me, because I have a huge anger problem. I don't know. I think I might have mentioned that on the podcast. I know I've talked to you about it. Anyway, I mentioned something. I'm trying to find healthier ways to process it because, like, as much as I think anger is important. You know, an excess of it can really just feel toxic. So I'm trying to like detoxify a bit of it. And, you know, it's like you have this list, and it's a list of rules, and you get full of rage when people aren't abiding by this list of rules. But the thing is, they don't know about the list of rules. They don't need to know about the list of rules. And they have their own list of rules.
Yes.
And so I try and apply that now, because I was like, you're so right.
That's so right.
Yeah. And so, you know, everyone's going about the world with their own list of rules, and it doesn't make it any worse or better than mine, but I just try and like think about that now.
That's smart. I like that. I try not to, if someone's a dick to me out in the world, I try not to immediately react. I would never do that before. Like, before I had Walter, I would have been like, you can spit in my mouth, it's okay, like, bing, bing, bong. But now I'm like, if somebody cuts in front of me in line at the superstore, I'm like, bitch, I'm gonna fucking cut you.
Yeah.
So
that's me in a nutshell as well. Yeah.
I don't know why.
Yeah.
But it's like lately, the past like handful of months and stuff, I keep having to remind myself that like everybody has shit going on, and you don't know. Because it's like, I'm just trapped in my little world. Yeah. And whatever. And it's like, I'm not more important than anybody else. Like, everyone's got their shit, and it's like, and it's always like the people that are like still nice and still trying and still contributing that are like, oh, I gotta like have a leg removed tomorrow, and like my dog ate my TV and died, and now my house is on fire. But they're like, but gotta make a donation to the food bank. And you're like, wow, fuck. Yeah. If you can do that, I'm pretty sure I can get over a kid looking at me wrong.
Like, right? I had to do this thing for a class that I was taking in communication. We had to talk to people in different areas of our life about like things that we should continue doing with our communication, and things that we might want to like look at and like adjust or something. And for the personal one, I asked one of my friends, she's like, professionally I think you're very articulate, and she's like, but personally, like, if you get upset, you just like light a match and you're like, I'm burning it all down. Start again.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's interesting. And I think about that now, and I was like, you know, that's very insightful. Don't go through so many matches, I guess.
Yeah. But that's the thing, like, it's like I feel like there's power in that, right? Whereas like I am gonna teach Walter the entire time growing up that crying and changing your mind, being wrong, admitting that you're wrong, changing your mind, all of that is extremely strong, powerful stuff to do. Nobody likes being wrong.
No. But
no one ever talks about the strength that it takes to admit that you're wrong, and to be like, wow, I took some time and I thought about it and I agree, and da-da-ba-ba. Like, that's huge.
It is. And I think, and that's something too, I think that people, and you and I have talked about this too, I think pretty recently, which is like, you don't, like, you have to allow people you have to assume that people have had a chance to grow and like learn. And like when years go by, that person isn't just like spinning their wheels. They're experiencing stuff.
Yeah.
And you know, maybe things that they thought 4 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 12 years ago, whatever, is different. You know, and also I think that it's interesting how somebody's wrong if it's not our opinion.
Yeah, I know, that's wild.
That's so and that's also something that takes me a minute too, is to be like, okay, I'm not inherently wrong because the person disagrees with me, and vice versa.
Yeah.
And so all that stuff's really challenging. Yeah, navigating people and being in the world is so weird.
Just to go back to what you say, like, yes, everyone does have a chance to grow and change and stuff. But like, as you were saying that, I had a flash in my head of people that I don't have in my life anymore. And it's like, yeah, I hope they have not been spinning their wheels. I hope that they've grown and experienced and they're good and stuff. Do I need to make space for them in my life if they want? No. And that's fine. Like, that has taken me, I again am disgustingly close to 40. And it's taken me this long to be like, yeah, no, I don't have to. It doesn't make me a bad person to not give someone a chance.
Absolutely.
Because it's like, I could have given that person no other, this could be like, they get no chance with me.
Yeah.
Or this person could be on chance 49.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. If I am me at my time in my life and I say, no space, dude, sorry. That is totally fine.
Yeah.
And if that person wants to make me a villain, or if that person has opinions, because they could be on the other side being like, well, hasn't she grown? Hasn't she experienced? Right. Hasn't she changed? They can have that thought process and think maybe I'm spinning my wheels, but I know that I have changed enough to be able to be like, no, door closed.
Yeah. And that's what I mean. Like, just because it's not, just because may not be aligning with their views or their lifestyle,
you're not wrong.
Yeah, you're not wrong. So yeah, no, I totally agree with that. I think that, and that's totally valid. Additionally, I would like to add, yeah, you have the ability to decide who is important in your life. Yeah. Absolutely. And this is a lesson that I kind of learned a little later than I would like to admit, is you're not owed closure. Like,
ugh, yes.
Just hypothetically, if you choose to take somebody out of your life, you're not required to give them an explanation for that.
Yeah, no.
You know, and I hate to say that because like it feels like what I'm saying is like just ghost these people or whatever, and that's not what I'm saying. It's just like if somebody affects you in a way that you don't like and it upsets your life, or you just don't think that person is, like, that person's become toxic or whatever the reason. There's a plethora of reasons you could decide that. You aren't a bad person if you choose to not provide them with closure.
Yeah.
Additionally, you might not always get closure to stuff. Yeah. And that just has to be okay sometimes too.
Yeah, that is really hard for me, because I'm definitely one of those people of like FOMO, I feel like. And I just need to know. So it's been hard for me, but I mean, I've gotten a couple of knocks, so you just kind of learn through experience that like certain things, you're fine without it. Again, to go back to do a callback to like the whole specific love spell for someone. Yeah, you can be dead wrong, right? So it's like, don't be you can't, like, specifics aren't necessarily super important, right? Yeah. So it's like, I didn't get that specific sort of closure that I thought I needed, but actually some other dope stuff happened that was really good and illuminating.
One thing that I think is interesting, though, that I wanted to bring up was going back to what you said. Like, I don't think, like, being vague with stuff is cool in a lot of ways, because as much as we want to have specifics, a vagueness or an openness to the conclusion or the result can be great, like you said, right? So maybe if, like, you're opting to, or thinking about wanting to do a specific for someone love spell, just consider it might be more empowering to do like a road opener thing where you're opening different roads idea. Right?
Yeah.
So that is a great solution or alternative.
Okay, because you brought up the road opener stuff, and there's like so many times in the past year that making things and using things related to that have come up. Yeah. And I keep writing it down and being like, oh yeah, great idea. All right, you need to do that. Do I do it? Abso-fucking-lutely not, because I think I'm scared of the outcome. And I did have a reading done around Christmas time. Right. And I've had stuff where it's just like, oh, you're afraid of actually succeeding. You don't believe that you deserve positive things happening to you. And I'm like, yeah.
I can see that. Right. Yeah. You and I feel like you and I, like, our self-esteem levels resonate well, because, like, we don't have a lot of it. So we, like, have to hype each other sometimes.
To go back to what I was saying, anytime that I am feeling called to do something or like pushing myself out of it, like the idea of the outcome actually working is terrifying. But it's like, I don't even register it, which is wild. Yeah. Like, it's like 4 months later I'll be like, oh, I was scared if I was too scared that it might work. Yeah. But at the time I'm like, I'm busy.
I hate saying self-love because it's just such a fucking
it's like term, it's like, going up there with like rosé all day and like wine moms,
live, laugh, love. It's just like fucking bullshit. Yeah. But like when you get into the gross, wiggly, toxic-y darkness of those things, you can actually work some stuff out. But I think it goes far beyond like the bullshit, like topical stuff that you need to like.
It's like putting on a yogurt mask is not super good self-love for me. Like, I get it. I like the idea of taking the time, but it's like, more might need to be done.
Yeah. You really got to dig into like the shadowy parts of your personality, and just
which
be
is
like,
not like fun.
No,
nobody wants to do that.
No. It isn't fun. It's a huge journey, and the changes are so subtle you don't see them until it's retrospect. Sorry, I'm wagging my finger at you, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, no, I get it. And it's a lot of like, we're talking about love spells.
Oh yeah. Well, okay, I'll bring this sort of back around after. One of the takes that I had that I wanted to share with you is something that I've kind of like probably done myself, but have witnessed over like time as well, other folks doing. I think it's important to be direct with yourself about what it is you want and why. Not because it's dangerous to not do it, or not because you're going to harm someone, but because it's the least you can do for yourself. If I'm going to be my own magical powerhouse, I can't be lying to myself about what my intentions are. It's kind of like, if I'm wishing everyone love and light except that one person, what I'm really saying is like, fuck that one person.
Yeah.
So why don't I just let myself say fuck that one person? I would say just being honest with yourself is a huge way to purify your magic, and whether it is for the highest good of all or not remains to be seen, but at least you're being true to yourself, you know.
I started looking at this blog. It was not very good, on par with the full moon on planet Earth vibe, but it had a link to the Evening Ledger, Philadelphia Evening Ledger from 1914. Frivolous follies and fancies, fantastic that fascinate Halloween maid.
Wow.
Like MAID. So it had a list of a bunch of activities you could do to find out who belongs to who and who's going to marry who and if you're going to be alone for eternity.
Okay.
Some of them are really cute, and some of them just paint a really different picture to what life is like in 2023.
All right.
So the rose test. So choose one for yourself and one for your lover. This requires 2 roses with long stems. American Beauties are splendid for this purpose.
Oh.
You must try the test in solitude, preferably in your own room. You must kneel down, fix your eyes on the rose chosen for your lover. Twine the stems of the 2 flowers together and repeat the following aloud. Twine, twine, and intertwine. Let my love be wholly thine. If his heart be kind and true, deeper grow his rose's hue. If your lover loves you truly, the rose should grow deeper in color. Cute, because there's no blood of any creature or other human involved.
Yes.
Some of them are a little bit weirder, like this one called Snapdragon. So I guess it's like how everything's worded is so precious. So young and old apparently like this. You take a half a pint of brandy and you put it in a dish and light it on fire. And as soon as it lights on fire, you turn the lights off, so it's the only light in the room. And then apparently you throw handfuls of candied fruits, raisins, sugared almonds into it, and you just take turns trying to grab everything out of it while the brandy's on fire. The girl or man who manages to obtain the highest amount of fruit from this process will meet her or his future mate within a year.
Oh.
Just stuff like this where it's just like, because I guess, in Victorian era, Halloween was like the singles night. So everybody would do stuff like this. It wasn't really like kids getting...
Halloween was for lovers.
Yeah.
No, singles looking for lovers.
Singles looking to mingle, man. Like, it very much was. The roasting of chestnuts was a thing, I guess. So you put your chestnuts on, I forget what they call it, the grate. Some sort of vent or heating system in your house, I'm sure. I don't know what the grate is. But you put it on the grate, and depending on what your chestnut did, it would be like whether you're a good match or not, or whether your relationship will be healthy. So if your chestnuts didn't do anything, you're like, oh, love forever and tranquility. But if they would like hiss and like jiggle around and be like, y'all gonna fight a lot. But they do say it's like frequently that chestnuts are like hissy and stuff, so it's like it gave me the idea that everyone's gonna have shite relationships, but whatever.
It's predetermined kind of based on how they cook.
There's more mirror stuff, which is kind of like what you alluded to in like the slumber party episode, where it's like mirror work to like if you walk backwards and chant, you'll see your lover. Oh, this one was kind of cute. You pluck a hair out of your head, like on Halloween you go outside at night, pluck a hair out of your head, say a thing, you let it go in the wind, and depending on where it goes, that's the direction of where your lover lives.
Oh, I like that. Yeah, that one's really
it's funny though, because like instantly in my head I was like, mine would just get stuck on a bush on the property and I'd be like, forever just me and my cats. Oh, there's also a thing that they did with mashed potatoes. So you would put a dime, a ring, and a thimble in mashed potatoes, and you get people to eat the potatoes. They're then eaten by guests, and apparently everything happens with great excitement.
I only eat mashed potatoes with great excitement.
Well, if you're looking for a ring, you'll soon be married. Pretty obvious one.
Right.
The thimble, you're gonna live alone all of your life.
Awesome.
And then the dime is money, obviously. This one is just cute because it has nothing to do with romance or anything. But a splendid way of entertaining the guests is the hiding of nuts or apples in different places in the room. Several people should then be blindfolded, and they must hunt around for the hidden articles. Hostesses who value their furniture and ornaments, etc., will start this boisterous game at their own risk. That's what I'm saying. That's like, life was different in 1914, man.
It's true.
Where they're just like, hey, what are you doing tonight? Do you want to just look for some nuts and apples? Blindfolded in Auntie's room? Sign me up.
Oh,
Do you want to like look at some chestnuts get warm and see what our life is gonna be? Trial by water.
Okay.
Where two young people fill their mouths full of water and are sent, and they're not supposed to like swallow or drop any of it. And if they meet someone of the opposite sex during this like little roundabout full of water, that's who they're fated to be with. And I was like, all of this sounds like really kind of a drag, because it's like the 4 people in your community doing the same thing. You're like, ugh, am I gonna be with that one or that one? I don't buy it.
No,
but
what a way to pass the time,
right? 3 dishes, one with clear water, a second with ink, and then there's one with nothing in it. And you blindfold your guests and lead them to the table where there's the 3 dishes, and they kind of like attempt to dip their finger in one of the dishes.
Mm-hmm.
If it's the empty dish, fated to be alone forever and ever. If it's the fingers in the inky water, the person will marry a widow.
Okay.
And if it's in clear water, the future partner for life will be young, charming, and handsome.
I guess that makes sense, because going back to what you said before, depending on how long ago this stuff happened or started, people were living to like 30.
Right.
Tops.
There's a lot of widows.
There's a lot of widows, yeah.
Like, that's kind of wild.
Yeah.
The needle game, which again, I'm just like, what? Each guest should be given a needle and a tiny piece of butter so that the needle may be greased. The needles are then placed in a basin of water, each guest watching his or her own needle carefully. By the law of magnetism and attraction, the needle will rush apart or together, as the case may be, and the manner in which each needle behaves will betoken the actions and the relationships of the parties concerned in the game. It's like, are there no foreign spicy lovers ever? Like, what about dudes in a town over?
Yeah.
No. Also, just stuff makes me feel like walnuts were a bigger part of life. Multiple games and recipes involving walnuts.
Walnuts were a huge part of
Maybe
life.
just like nuts in general, hiding nuts in rooms and hissing chestnuts. And
yeah, I definitely remember now reading some stuff, not for this podcast, but just like around the holidays a few years ago, where they were like, there's a lot of divination that has to do with chestnuts.
The needle threading test. It's very hard to thread a needle when seated on a round bottle laid lengthwise on the floor. It will roll about in the most surprising fashion. The one who succeeds in threading the needle first will be the first to get married. There's something comforting and just like ridiculous about all of this stuff.
I agree. It is both equally, yeah. But I mean, we even do sort of like those ritual things now. Like, people, I'm pretty sure, still throw bouquets over their shoulder.
Yeah, totally. Which is like, it's just for some reason that's an accepted practice.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just funny what sticks and what doesn't stick.
I know.
We're no longer hissing chestnuts, but...
Yeah. Yeah, so Sky Alexander, there's a series of books on witchcraft, which are just, like, beautiful. Like, just, like, aesthetically very pleasing, but also very full of information. Sky even made a point to be like, mistletoe. Hanging mistletoe during the holiday season is a love ritual, essentially, because you're trying to find someone to kiss. And it's like, we don't think about that, we just like do.
Yeah, it's just, that's accepted, and it's in songs, and it's precious, and it's like, okay.
Yeah, we'll take this. Take this into the future with us. Arguably, like, all tarot readers that I've ever spoken with or like have seen online and stuff have said the majority of their questions like are always love related.
What predictable bags of boring humans are.
Well, I mean, it's interesting because, you know, to be loved like is universal, but we just like have no patience for each other either.
Right?
So it's interesting. Yeah. But it's also funny because we're looking at this stuff from like historical folklore that you just were talking about, and like the Greek papyrus that I was just talking about. And it's funny because when I just did an initial Google search to like kickstart the research for this, the stuff that came up first was like Cosmopolitan, Love Spells, Allure, Nylon, like all these magazines. So you're just like, what? Because it's become so mainstream.
Just the love stuff. Anything else is like,
yeah,
probably a little bit more out there.
Yeah,
maybe?
or takes a back seat or something. But like I was kind of shocked because like and some of it was interesting. Like Teen Vogue had one where they said all love magic must be done on Friday, which is Venus's day. Venus is the goddess of love. So I do think that there's some value in like taking the elements and using them to your advantage. I don't necessarily agree that all of them need to be done on Friday, but I think that that's a good tip, is kind of just like taking,
well, because intention's there, right?
Yeah,
so it's like if
harness
you do
what
it
you
on
can.
a Thursday, it's not gonna have any less intention.
Yeah,
it's just boosters.
Yeah, it's like it's all boosters.
Yeah,
think of it as that.
It's funny, like looking back, because I was like, I'm gonna try to find some examples like of love spells and magic in movies and stuff, and I was like, well, I'll go through our like what we covered in the pod first of all.
Yeah,
and it honestly did kind of bum me out that like 90% of the movies were based on women looking for love, and I was like, fuck, how did I never notice that before?
Yeah, same. I never really noticed it
was
either.
a dread, because the craft, like, even all four of them have different desires, but Sarah's the most powerful and was like, I want Chris Hooker to love me, and like, boy oh boy did that spell work. Like,
no, it's true. And like, I think Teen Witch was another one.
Practical Magic, there's at least 3 or 4 different love spells within that movie alone. Love Witch is, well, pretty obvious. The Witches of Eastwick, they unknowingly conjure the perfect man,
right?
I think like magic is so much more than that to me personally, and then when I see it in media, I'm like, oh yeah, because women only want love, and it's all about that. Well, Bell Book and Candle also, that's from like the, I want to say 54, let me just look it up, but that is Kim Novak and Jimmy Stewart. Basically she puts a love spell on him. I think it's been a while since I watched it, but I think it's because he's with someone she doesn't like. They went to school together, I think, and she doesn't like this woman, so she's like, screw, because she, like, it's very cute. Kim Novak, like, never wears shoes, and she's always holding her cat, and she's always like, I'm a winch, but like I'm super hot, so like nobody notices. So she like kind of just takes Jimmy Stewart away just because she wants to hurt this woman, but then I think she actually falls for him. Right. It's ridiculous. 1958. Okay. It came out. It's ridiculous, but it's beautiful. It's one of those like Vista Vision, beautiful color and like comfort viewing for me. Yeah. There's also, what did I the Buffy the Vampire Slayer episode. Yes. Wait, which one are you Bothered and Bewildered, where Xander gets Amy to do the love spell on Cordelia, and it works backwards, and so all other women love him. Yes, I do remember that, and I had it out. Yeah, Bewitched, Bothered, and Bewildered. You're right. Yeah. First aired February 10th, 1998. I do remember that episode quite well. Yeah. It's one of the main ones I remember. I mean, like, when I think about the episodes, that one I definitely distinctly remember. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because he wanted it to work on Cordelia, and it worked on literally every other person. Except her, and he was, like, so pissed. But and then it was also really precious, because she was like, oh, you did that for me? Yeah. Idiot. I liked that. One that I love, and I haven't seen since I was a kid, but Lady Hawk, have you ever? Fuck off, I have that downstairs. Is that Matthew Broderick? Matthew Broderick is in it, yeah. Michelle Pfeiffer? And Michelle Pfeiffer, yeah. Yes. Oh, it's super weird, because like, don't they fall in love, but like she can only come out, she's a hawk during the day, and so wait, what is it? It's something like that. Like, so Matthew Broderick, I think, is just like a thief in it or something. Yeah, he's like a bit part kind of, or maybe he's not a bit part, but he's not one of the main lovers. Like what's happening to the lovers, I think, and tries to do something. Right. Yes. I think. It was something like that. So it came out in 1985. So
So the man becomes a wolf at night when his lover is a woman, human woman, and then in the day she becomes a hawk and he becomes a human man, so they can never be together. Yeah.
Which is so wild.
So yeah.
What a concept.
What a concept. I just remember thinking that was so like profound when I was a kid watching. I didn't know the word profound, of course, but like I was just like, wow. Right? Powerful.
Whoa.
Yeah, so that was funny. I also named my car Lady Hawk when I had my old white car there. Yeah.
Yeah, I have it downstairs. It's incredibly dark and hard to watch.
It is very
VHS, dark. And it's like,
yeah.
I was like, is that Michelle Pfeiffer?
Yeah, and we mean visually dark. Like, it's hard.
Yes.
Like, you have to squint while you're watching it.
Yeah. Because they apparently actually just shot it at night. And they were like, whatever, authentic.
Oh, right? Yeah, exactly.
Like, okay.
All right, so there we go.
No, you said you had some other things.
Oh yeah, and just a couple things. There was the Elements of Spellcrafting by Jason Miller, which I think is a fantastic resource if you're worried about ethics or free will or whatever, that sort of stuff. I say or whatever, like it's
or whatever.
It's a great option to kind of get a different perspective. Like one of the things that he says is a lot of people get concerned that they might be robbing someone of free will by doing magic. But it's important to remember that magic is just an influence like any other influence. So, well, thank you for listening to this episode of the podcast. We are going to wrap things up here. We'll come back hopefully very soon for the next one. Not so big of a break.
See you in 2027. No big deal. Remember me.
Right? Right. And I forget how we conclude these, so let's
right. How do we?
I don't remember.